Hello everyone, my name is Robin and I am the Tire Witch. Welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be answering some questions that I opened up to the general public. I got most of them on Instagram. And I got a lot of questions, and I'm not going to promise that I'm going to answer them all because there's a lot. But what I will say is that this is probably going to be a 2 or 3 part video. I will release them at separate times because I don't want to overwhelm people with answering questions. So let's just do our best here to answer as many as we can. So starting off strong, our first question from Instagram is resources or books that I recommend for beginner witches. And I actually have an entire blog post about this, which is always growing. If you are somebody who's watching this who has really good recommendations, you can go to that blog post and comment, and I've got it constantly growing for different books that people recommend, because as time moves on, so do our recommendations. That you can find by going to my little find me website. It's tiredwitch.com/findme, and right on there is a resource list. So I hope you find that helpful or useful. The next question I really like. Nobody's ever asked me this before. It says, if being a tarot reader wasn't an option, what would you be doing? And the answer is, I have no idea. Probably being a stay-at-home mom. No, actually, no, that's a lie. The idea of not working makes me just stir crazy to think about. So I went to university for classical art. I am a classically trained sculpture artist. Fun fact about me, I dropped out of art school after 5 years. I am a realism sculptor by trade, technically. I would probably be trying to do something along those lines. If not, I used to be a mental health counselor 12 years ago. That might be something I'd still be doing. Tarot kind of was a segue for me into moving away from mental health work, because mental health work was actually really emotionally draining for me. That's a story for another day. But yeah, I don't know what I would be doing. Probably something along those lines. All right, the next question I have is, what is the most versatile item for your practice? Now, I wrote an entire book on what I think is the most versatile item, which is your tarot deck. It's chock full of symbolism and can be used for a tool and spell work. But we're not going to talk about me. We're going to talk about what I think is the most versatile tool. And I actually think it's candles. And I don't think that candles are underrated. But what I do think is that people don't really realize just how multifaceted of a tool candles can be. You can get them at the dollar store. Okay. We all know that I love dollar store candles. I will post about the dollar store until I die, and no one can stop me. Yeah, candles, you can get them at the dollar store, so you don't have to spend a lot of money. They work for spell work, they work for offerings, they work for, divination. I was sat there going, I know there was something else I was gonna say. They work for a ton of things. Candles, candles, candles. You don't have to spend a lot of money on them either, and they can last you. Candles. Do it. Go get them. What are you doing? All right, my next question is, if the cards you pull just aren't making sense, does that mean that you have the wrong tarot deck? And I think that is a complicated question with a complicated answer. So I'm going to do my best to kind of answer it shortly for you. Probably not. Probably doesn't mean that you have the wrong tarot deck. I think that there are a couple different schools of thought when it comes to tarot and kind of the divination meanings and kind of what that looks like. Tarot cards, in my belief, are the translation of the messages from our spirits and our guides and from within. The cards themselves are just paper. They were made in a factory, right? But what we're pulling is the translation from the messages that are around us. And so it's probably not that you need a new deck. There are decks out there that definitely vibe differently with different people. I'm definitely not trying to say that mine don't. They bring different energies. But what's probably actually going on is a few things. One, when was the last time you cleansed your deck? Like, cleanse it. Shuffle, 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 and then shuffle again. Shuffle one more time, and then drop them all on the ground, pick them up, and then shuffle one more time. And then cleanse it, and then shuffle again. Especially when we're first trying to get to know a deck or to work with a deck, shuffle, 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 and then shuffle again. And if all of your cards are not making sense, it is telling me you probably haven't had that deck for that long. And then the other thing I was going to say is if all your cards are not making sense and you probably haven't had that deck that long, you also probably haven't been reading that long. And this is not a diss or anything like that. But when we get into tarot first, we get these nifty little books and they give you meanings of uprights and reversals. And they're so useful. But the problem is that we haven't been using them long enough to develop kind of what these cards can mean for different situations where it just might make a little bit more sense. So in my opinion, what would be probably best for you, aside from the cleansing and the shuffling, is to go join a tarot group, a learning group. There's tons of them. We've got one in my Patreon. It's just a group of people that are reading tarot and bouncing it off each other, giving each other their meanings. If they're stuck on something, waiting to hear interpretations from others and what they might think. Because you might find that it actually does make sense. You just haven't been doing it long enough to get that kind of interpretation naturally. Or you might have some implied bias there that is blocking you from seeing the answer that is right in front of you. So look for tarot learning circles. I bet you'll find them quite useful. So the next question I have here is, what steps did you take to make motherhood and your practice coexist? Now, I'm planning to make an entire video about being a mom and a witch, but I am waiting until my child is about a year old. That way I've got a full year under my belt and I feel like I can give you guys the best tips that I can with a decent amount of experience. But that being said, actually the most recent episode of Coffee and Cauldrons, per the day I'm recording this, we talk about being moms and witches, and both of us are coming from two very different points in our children's lives. My baby is under a year old, and Maria's kid is in middle school. So we're coming from two very different experiences, and we talk about being moms and kind of our little tips and tricks. That is going to be on season 3, episode 3, and I will link it in the description below, so that way you can just go right to it if you want. The next question I have is, do you have any recommendations for starting to work with the Fae? I do not work with the Fae. I am not European practicing in that respect. And I actually don't really offhand have any recommendations, sadly, to redirect you to. Most of my friends don't practice or work with the Fae, rather, or people that I closely work with. If you have recommendations and you're watching this for somebody who does work with the Fae, comment below so that we can redirect that person to somebody who might be really useful for them. So the next question I've got here is a 2-part question. I'm assuming that they mean them together, but I'm going to answer them as though they're 2 separate questions as well as together. So the first question is how do you dispose of money bowl items? And a money bowl is something that you are meant to feed, right? So you continue to give offerings to it, you can continue to light candles, etc. The money bowl is meant to be something that is constantly being fed. Now, when your money bowl gets too full, what do you do with it? I take the money out of the money bowl and I donate it to a charity, because when I put the money in, the money is no longer mine. And when it gets too full, it should go off to a good cause, in my opinion. That's what I do. Other people, I'm sure, have different ideas. I'm sure some people save the money for themselves or whatever. I don't know. I'm not going to get into what other people do. That's just what I do. Now, in terms of disposing things, because the next question this person had is it okay to bury stuff if you're not sure what to do with it because it feels the best? Yes and no. So the act of burying things magically is kind of a symbolic representation of planting it to see it to continue to grow. We often will bury things in terms of protection magic and prosperity magic, or even fertility magic around our home. We're planting something and we want to watch it grow, right? If you put it far away from your home, like miles and miles and miles, you might be doing that for banishing. And then I suppose you could probably bury it then. But then the no aspect, the no of it becomes, are you littering? Don't litter. Please don't litter. We are all servants of the land to a varying degree, of course, and please don't litter. Please don't. If you're going to dispose of items, for example, you have a spall jar, I feel like that's probably going to be the most common thing that comes up for people with this. Clean the jar, cleanse the jar, compost any herbs you put in it. You can repurpose it if you want. You can throw stuff away. Just please don't litter. Like, yes, you can bury things. Yes, there are spell work where it's really appropriate to do so. And if you're being called to do it, great. Don't litter though, please. Just don't put chemicals and stuff in the ground, please. It's very bad. So my next question is, how did you pick a tired witch? If you know me in real life at all, you know that your girl's a sleepy bitch. I drink coffee like it's going out of style. I'll have like 6 cups of coffee a day because I'm just tired. I'm so tired. And I know that what has happened is I've created a caffeine dependency at this point. When I tell you that being pregnant and not getting to have coffee was like the worst thing that's ever happened to me, I say that with no exaggeration. I had coffee hours after I gave birth because I was just like, oh, sweet, sweet, sad bean water. So yeah, I'm tired. I like snacks and naps, and I'm a chubby girl who likes to sleep. I know that like some people have got these amazing like usernames and brand names where they're like, oh, this is my craft name, or this is, something that is really reminiscent to me of my practice. And that is not me. I'm just tired and also a witch. I'm sleepy. I'm snoozy. The next question is, what is the wildest misconception about dat witch life among the layman people that you have encountered? Eugene, please. Could not have worded that crazier. Wow. A lot of people, I think, when they meet me and they find out what I do for a living, I usually have 2 reactions. I either have people who get really excited and then they want to tell me about Harry Potter or like something like that, Charmed, and I'm just like, cool, like, great. Which they mean really well, so I'm definitely not trying to like diss anybody. It's the misconception, I guess, is the relationship between a fantastical movie and like real life, or the other end is people get really afraid of me. Or they think I'm Coco Bananas. Yeah. I will be in a lot of situations where people find out what I do for a living. Like, my parents are quite proud of me in my life. At least I think they are. Maybe they're not. I don't know. Mom and Dad, I know you're watching. Comment below. They are proud of me. At least I think so. And they often tell people what I do for a living. And you get a lot of perplexed, like, confusion. And I think that's kind of where just it stops. Most people, when they find out who I am, what I do, that sort of thing, they are so uninterested because they think I am absolutely bananas. So that my misconception is I'm not crazy. Actually, I am normal, and this is spiritual belief. So So I'm gonna do 2 more questions before we wrap this up, because like I said, I don't want it to be too long. But the next question is, how can you practice without being obvious to those around you? And I actually did a video on discrete altars, and within that video, I did a little bit of tips and tricks towards being discreet in terms of magic. I'll link that in the description below that video. But we can do maybe a whole video that is just on discreet witchcraft and magic, discreet offerings, etc. Let me know if that's what you guys want to see. Maybe we'll do that. All right, and the last question I'm going to answer today is, what is your favorite part of your practice? And I love that, and I think that's a really good closing question. My favorite part of my practice is the total control I have over my own life. Obviously, within reason, there are lots of factors that we don't have control over, right? I talk about this a lot in tarot, that we have autonomy in our life and nothing is really set in stone. But when I have issues that are really bothering me, I have the tools and knowledge to kind of fix them. It's not perfect all the time, of course. I'm not going to sit here with arrogance and tell you that it is. That would be a lie. And I think that people who feed you this illusion that they are so powerful and strong and they don't do anything wrong ever, they're probably actually pretty insecure. I think that secure people are willing to say that not everything is perfect all the time. My life definitely isn't. But for the most part, when I want something or I need something, using magic helps me to get that. Even if getting it is just being able to find the inner peace for it, if that makes sense. It also gives me a sense of self and dedication and something bigger than me that I can believe in because it's tangible and I have control over it, if that makes sense. It is comfort in and of itself, and it's something that I don't know what I would do without it at this point in my life. So that's my practice is my favorite part of my practice. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for your questions. I will be answering more of them in a part 2. I'm not going to record that today, but I have all the questions here, and so we will get to them as soon as I possibly can. That being said, thank you for being here. And if you have a question that you'd like me to answer next time, drop it down below in the comments and I'll do my best to go over them. Maybe we can span this into a part 3. So, bye!